Okay, so now we want to analyze this data. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to take this data. We want to find the radius, okay? And once we find the radius, we want to find the sine, the cosine, and the tangent function. So let's do that. I am in my Microsoft Excel, and I'm actually in Dropbox. Well, I'm looking at my file on Dropbox in Microsoft Excel. So let me go to the data file. Remember, it's the CMBL file. And when I select on it, you'll notice that all of the data is in there. Okay, so the primary columns that we're going to utilize will be A, B, and C. So let's just go ahead and hide D and E. I'm just going to say hide. I don't want to delete it. I might figure out, I may want to use that data for something else that I'm not considering right now. So don't delete your data, okay, when you find your data, because now if you delete it, you'd have to go back and do the entire experiment over again. And if the experiment was 2 weeks long, that's 2 weeks worth of work that you have to go back and get. All right, so the functions that I want to put in here are the following. And so I'm just going to call this the radius. And we know that the radius is measured in meters. If you don't, now you do. And we're going to find the sine function, the cosine function, and the tangent. Okay, so how do we find the radius? Well, remember the radius is just Pythagorean's theorem. And before we do all of that, let's just go ahead and write down what Pythagorean's theorem looks like. And I can write it over here. It is R equals to the square root of x squared plus y squared. Now, what is that equivalent to? Well, you have a cell, okay? And you're going to say, in that cell, you're going to say equals to. That cell is equal to, and maybe I should do it. Yeah, that cell is equal to SQRT. And then it's, in this particular case, what do we have here? In this particular case, we kept A, we have B and C. So this is going to be B2 squared plus let me see how I'm going to do this. Move this over a little bit. Plus C2 squared. I'm going to show you how to do that and what I mean when I say that. We also will have sine of the angle theta equals to y over r. And so since we've just found r in the previous statement, this is just going to be C2 over D2. It's not going to be D2. Let me see what it's going to be. It's going to be F2 in this particular case. Yours might be a little bit different. It's going to be F2. And then we have cosine of theta equals to x over r. This is going to be B2 divided by F2. And the last function that we have is just going to be tan. And this is y over x, if you remember. And this is just going to be C2 over, and that is not a G2, it's C2 divided by B2. All right, so this is the theory that we discussed earlier. Just go ahead and place these in here. So the radius is going to be equal to, so I'm just going to go ahead and select on my 1, 2, 3 tab right here and select on equals to. So that's equal to, and let's go back to ABC. That's going to be SQR. Did I not do it right? For some reason, my Q doesn't come up. SQRT. Now, you'll notice after you type that this function comes up. So I'm just going to select on that function, and you'll see that you have num here. So the num that I want is X right here. So let me go ahead and select on X. And we want to square it, remember. So we square it by using this caret here. And that's going to be to the second power. And we're just going to say plus C2. So let's select on C. And we are going to use that caret again to the second power. You can close your parentheses and then just select on the check mark or return or drop the keyboard. So I'll just select on the check mark here. And you see that we have a radius of approximately 10 centimeters or 0.10 meters. Okay, so we don't want to leave it, we don't have to leave it like this. We can go ahead and select on, let's just say we select on 3 decimal places. Since it is a meter stick, the meter stick goes down to millimeters, and we have 1 millimeter here. So this is 0.101. So this is in the thousandths place. Remember what a millimeter represents. So I'm going to go ahead and select on this particular cell, and I'm going to say fill. When I select fill, I can just drag this all the way down. And when I drag this all the way down, the calculations for that, for each one of these numbers, each one of these ordered pairs, X and Y, it's going to be calculated. Okay, very powerful, very quick. Okay, now we want to do sine, cosine, and tangent. So we have the theory over here. Sine is just equal to Y divided by R. Cosine is equal to X divided by R. And tangent is equal to Y divided by X. All right. So I'm just going to grab all of those, and you'll notice that I still have this fill over here. I'm just going to fill and then drag all the way down. All right. So now we have our sine, our cosine, and our tangent functions. And what I would like for you to do is I want you to graph these functions. So how I want you to graph these functions, I want you to actually grab time. And then I want you to copy the time column. We know that it's time because it has seconds here and it has time. So I'm going to copy that. And then right next to sine, I want to insert left. So now I have time and sine. I'm going to copy this one, this time column again. I'm going to go right next to sine, and then I'm going to insert left. And I want to do the same thing for tangent. Copy, and then insert left. Okay, so now I'll just stop right here as far as the, no, I guess I'll keep going. What I want to do now is I want to graph the cosine in terms of time. And so basically time is going to be on the independent axis, and cosine will be on the dependent axis, or will be on the dependent axis. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy the data, or select the data. I'm not going to copy it, but I'm going to select these two. The first column will always be on the x-axis, and every column after that will be on the y-axis. In this case, we only have one column, and that's sine. So let's go ahead and choose insert at the top, or select on the tab insert. Then let's go to charts. Once we go to charts, let's go to XY scatter. After XY scatter, we want to choose a scatter plot in the upper left-hand corner. So once we choose that, you'll see a plot there, okay? How about I'll just move it over here. Okay, and then we want to do the same thing for cosine. So let's go to insert, the insert tab. And then let's choose charts. And then after charts, XY scatter. XY scatter, the upper scatter plot in the upper left-hand corner. Now we have cosine. The last one that we want to take care of will be the tangent function. And I see that they're putting these number signs here. If you just want to change that, you can just double tap and it'll open it up for you. All right, so I'm just going to go over here, select on these three, on these two. Do the same thing, insert, and charts, XY scatter. All right. So now we have three plots here. And with these three plots, we want to make sure that we label it appropriately. So we have a title here, but we need to add some elements in here. So we need a X-axis title and a Y-axis title, and we're going to change our overall title. So let's go to Elements, Axis Titles. Let me go back. We're going to go to Axis Titles, and then we want to go to our primary horizontal. Once we are in our primary horizontal, you'll see that this axis title comes up. Let's just double click on that or double tap on it, and we're going to call this time. And we know that it is in seconds. So let's do the same thing for the horizontal by going to Elements, Axis Titles, and then go to the primary vertical. Once we're at our primary vertical, what we can do, we will double tap on that title, and we're going to call this the sine function. All right. And so, of course, at the top here, we want to double tap on sine, and let's just call that the sine function versus the time. So that's the first one. We're going to repeat for each one of these. So I'm going to go to Elements, Primary Horizontal. This is time again. And Elements again, Axis Titles. Okay. Double tap. And this is going to be our cosine function. So now we want to select on the title of the chart. And this is our cosine. Let me see if I can go over here. Oh. Cosine function versus time. And then the last chart here is just going to be tangent. So we're going to select our axis titles, primary axis, and this is again time. And the tangent function. So tangent versus time. We need to always label our charts, okay? Give it a title, make sure you label the x-axis and the y-axis, so when you hand it off to people, they'll know what you're talking about. And even more important than that, you'll know what you're talking about. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to submit this.